Well, we'll talk about that set in a little bit because there's plenty to talk about there. But we want to bring in our guest pretty quickly because we have a limited window of time with him. Let me just say that today, October 29th, is the 6th anniversary of the very first Dead and Company show ever in Albany, New York. And we've got someone who is there and has been there every step of the way. Please welcome our friend, John Mayer.
Oh my gosh. There is a very good chance I won't be able to hear you. Everything you just said was garbled, and I hope that the gods of Zoom will prevail. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you loud and clear.
So far. Okay. We're going to go for it.
Okay.
How are you guys?
Okay. We're great.
We're having a great time.
Great.
We're so happy to have you here, John. I'm still on the couch that you helped make famous right here at home. And and
we love a Jacquard.
Yes, we love a Jacquard. He says that's the what this kind of fabric thing is called, and we don't ever doubt John on his textile expertise. But anyway, let's get away from that and talk about this band and this tour. David and I have been watching this thing with our jaws on the floor. The consistency, the depth of the playing, the depth of the conversation. How are you feeling about it?
The consistency thing I vibe with. I go, yes, I'm feeling that. Yeah, we're sort of we've struck the balance now finally between keeping the genetics correct, but also taking the ship to lots of places, but it's still the right ship, Everyone's on the same boat now. And now we all get to go places together. And, yeah.
Well said, sir. I like that.
We've raved about this every night, how new ideas keep getting injected into places in the music that were fairly standard, over the years. Mm-hmm. Cumberland Blues being a shining example of that, moving it into the post drum slot and finding improvisational possibilities in that song that we never thought about too much because it was Cumberland Blues.
I always think of Cumberland as a country Got My Mojo Working. I'm always playing it like Got My Mojo. So that's, every song I have a bunch of like index cards in my head as I play. And that's one of them. I'll share that one with you. I'm always going. So to me, I'm going, I got my mojo working. And that's really where I'm coming from that whole time. I'm almost playing the guitar like an organ, like I'm trying to like pump a B3. It also reminds me, remember the theme to Family Feud? Like those are the things I rep. Every song has like a bunch of memories and references to me, but I always play Cumberland like it's Got My Mojo Working.
See, that's the thing that makes this music work, is that everybody comes into it with their own external reference. Like you've got the structure of the songs, but you're also bringing in all of this color and texture and stuff that you picked up in other places. And what we're hearing is this really, really happy new synthesis of mentalities. Yes.
And it floats a little more now. It's almost like there's no one person pulling it, that it's everyone we figured out how to all flap the wings in the right synchronicity, and then things take off pretty dependably, like they pretty dependably go somewhere. Like that's the consistency part that I was agreeing with.
Yeah, and every player in the band brings his own broad and different frame of reference to it. You were talking about Mojo Working. On some of those really extended forays into Cumberland, I think of it as Ornette Goes to Bakersfield.
There you go. It's always two very disparate ideas being smashed together to make something new. So yeah, I'm playing Buck Owens and Got My Mojo Working at the same time, or I'm doing like Jimmy Smith. I'm doing Buck Owens and Jimmy Smith at the same time on Cumberland Blues, and that's just one song. We could talk about Cumberland Blues for an hour. Every song has its own little file cabinet for me.
That's really nice to hear.
Yeah. David and I both caught you throwing that quote from Ray Charles on Busted into a few tunes, both the Coda Sugar Magnolia and I think a little bit in Black Peter.
That might be a coincidence. Oh,
really?
Wait.
Yeah,
I'm thinking in that moment, like a swinging horn band right there. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You're right. Those are the two times I do it, because it's that final chord on Sugar Magnolia. I do swing it. And also, there's a bass line that I play on the guitar in Black Peter, and it goes dong ba do dee do dee do, which is the coolest blues bass line. It's from a Buddy Guy song. I forget which song it is. I got a new love indeed. Oh, and it's good to me. Do do dee dee. So I wish I could do like a commentary track one time. Just take a show and I'll watch it and just tell you the hundreds and hundreds of things that are flashing by.
Right. John Mayer pop-up video of
that's right.
A company show.
There's so much going on.
It'd be fun.
Hey, Nug.
So the other night, a lot of people were buzzing about this reference to Blues for Allah that people believe they heard going by the other night.
I think Jeff might have done it.
Yeah.
I'm an honest dude. I'm not familiar enough with every move on it to follow him. And but that was the talk, is that he had sort of thrown that in. I've thrown a couple things in that people just have not caught, which is interesting. The other night, I want to say it was one of the Denver shows, I played the theme to the video game Halo. And I believe I took a microscopic bow afterwards, like, thank you, I'm very proud of you. It could have been
all right.
It could have been space. It was probably space.
Yeah. You know,
I think he's having a time.
I pride myself on being pretty good at catching the references, but on that one, I humbly declare myself stumped, sir.
Yeah, it really, I mean, what an amazing experience to just place all of your memories and all of your impressions of music and life and things on the table every single night. And know that it's going to be okay if you want to pull any of them up and go, man, this was me at my grandmother's house, the song I used to hear on the TV when it was on. And you can put it in the music, and no one might ever know. But for you, you're putting it in the little boat and pushing it downstream. And there's importance to that, you know?
Yeah.
But somebody on the stage might pick up on it and sing it back to you, and that makes cool things happen. You know, that's part of what we're tuning in for. You guys are delivering on the promise of this I've listened to most of the tours previous to this one, but this one I've been like, it's been my job to pay attention to it and listen closely to every show. And I'm just really, really pleased as a fan and as a longtime documenter and student of this music at what you guys are bringing to the table now. And you in particular, your beautiful use of the whammy bar, bending entire chords like
Thank you.
It reminds me of Monet paintings, those palette knife brush strokes and stuff.
Thank you. Well, I didn't use whammy bar for a really long time because I had bad whammy bar discipline. That's why I don't like wah pedals either. They're hard to not use, and as soon as your hand starts going for whammy bar, you can't stop. But I've had a very good time lately, and sort of you'll see me sometimes go like, okay, enough, and I'll like move it out of my way so I'm not tempted to keep playing it. But it's like we're all looking for different little paint colors we can use throughout the night to just for a moment change the complexion of the mood of something. And every once in a while I look at the whammy bar as if it were a pedal steel or a slide, because you can kind of get that perfect inexact thing of slide playing. You know, I think I did a Roe Jimmy one. What's that?
Gives it a little shimmer, beautiful shimmer.
Yeah, it's just a new feeling, you know. I think it was a Roe Jimmy one time, and I just did this with the bar the whole time. And all of a sudden, I'd never done it before. And I went, oh, when you do this, it really sounds like a rotary organ or something. It was doing a very interesting thing. So there are just nights where I don't know why I know what I'm about to do is going to work, but it works. That's the magic. That's the moment where you just go, I just know where the notes are. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it.
And you're in the company of all these guys who can, follow whatever you do and shapeshift themselves.
Yep.
I mean, Jeff can be Horace Silver 1 second, Johnny Johnson the next, Professor Longhair the next.
Yep.
O'Teal can reference Jocko or James Jamerson, or play the fill content, as intended.
Yep.
And so the variables, the number of possible solutions to any moment are just infinite.
They are infinite. They're completely infinite. And yeah, I've just finally learned. I remember it was rehearsal where I had cracked the code on how I wanted to play this music. And after rehearsal, I was like, okay, I finally think I get it now in terms of really, you could almost just break it down to like the physical pressure of how hard to hit the guitar and the actual simplicity of some of this stuff, Some of my favorite versions of things were from like early 70s, where a lot of the expression of these songs weren't very complex. I learned that my favorite stuff, I went and played along to my favorite stuff and went, John, would you ergonomically be pleased with yourself if this is what you were playing? And I went, no. And I went, well, that's a problem, because that's what this music is. And if you play Jack Straw the right way, it really feels like da 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 da. And it took me years, literally, to move away from something maybe 4 times as verbose as that, thinking that's the way it's got to be. So you just have to get your physicality to match your mentality. And then when that happens, you're just, that's it. That's making it to me. And by the way, it's a perishable thing. If I'm too tired, if I've heard too many notes come out of the guitar, I lose it. There's windage. My aim goes off. But after a little break and I get the vocabulary back in my head, then the physicality matches the mentality, and it's just like all night you can hold there. It's really exciting.
Wonderful. I've also been noticing just the quality of the drums and space segments have been incredibly varied, incredibly have really gone outside. The other night, you were holding something up to your pickup. I couldn't tell if it was a phone or something with a speaker on it.
It was my iPhone. So I'm getting increasingly more subversive in drums and space, because every time before I go out, I'm trying to take my brain further out. And lately I've been sort of hitting the aquarium glass. And I go, what can I do that truly is what I think space should be, which is like an opportunity to really transcend something. And the other night I was like, I'm just going to put up Tibetan chants on Spotify and play it through the pickups of my guitar, because, it's like Billy Madison says in the film, Billy Madison, he says, I drew the duck blue because I'd never seen a blue duck. And that's what I think space is for. I'd never seen anyone play a kind of a chant music through the guitar, through the delay pedal and all the effects of the guitar. So really all that's different is the sound source, but the rest of it's coming through my amp. So if it didn't work, it didn't work. But I see that as an 8-minute laboratory. Yeah.
As well it should be. It's been fun hearing you guys kind of breathe new life into that, because it's free form and it's like a random free association musically of pinging ideas around and stuff. Right. And it's really fun. I mean, it's the thing is just everybody. It just feels like everybody's properly engaged and really committed to doing it for real and fresh every time, and that just comes across really nicely to these jaded old fucks you're talking to right now.
Thank you. You know what it's like? It's a little bit like, this is actually a perfect analogy. It's a little bit like every night, space to me is like what Bart Simpson draws on the chalkboard every episode of The Simpsons. It's a new opportunity, or the way the Simpsons all crush down into the couch and what happens at that moment. That really is to me like, well, what can our characters do tonight that will make people go, hadn't seen that one before. So maybe we have to get further and further.
Couch gag. This is new information right here for the historians.
Again, that's how I see it. Is the Simpsons couch gag is space if you're doing it right.
Yeah, and I've got to say your pop culture references are really on point tonight. We've had Halo, we've had The Simpsons, we've had the Family Feud theme.
Yes, man. I mean, look, I have no claim to some highbrow thing in this life. I am not haughty. I am a latchkey kid who grew up watching all these things. I mean, some of my earliest experiences of listening to records were playing video games with their volume down, listening to records, and just tripping out to. I mean, that's the best way to just listen. I wouldn't even listen to video game music, although I can play a couple of video game songs on my guitar too. So I don't know. I'm just all over the place.
Jaco Pastorius once told me he learned to play bass by playing along with TV theme songs. And he said, from I Love Lucy, I got Latin music. From Dick Van Dyke, I got swing.
Yes.
And he just named all these reference points, and that's it's all in there. It's all there in pop
Super
culture.
Mario Brothers has a bunch of different vibes. You've got Charleston. Then you've got some swing. The underwater music was always like it's a waltz basically. That really is the music. And then there was Tetris, which taught me the love of harmonic minor. Everyone. Key change. 2 bars, and then it loops.
And this, friends, is why you should always tune into the Nugsnet feed between sets. You never know what you're going to learn.
You knew what you get.
With Lambert Gans.
Hey, John.
Yes.
A few minutes ago, David mentioned that watching these shows has been our job, and what a pleasurable job. One thing you and I talked about a little bit in messages back and forth is that the focus on the job has been so total on this tour because of the conditions, the isolation and all that.
Yeah.
So backstage can be a very distracting thing during set break. And, we're sorry to be distracting you right now, but
you're my first backstage guest this entire tour. You're the first guest I've had backstage. I thought honored. Going into it without backstage guests, I went, oh, well, this will actually be good because I'll be able to focus and I'll be able to save my voice because there's a lot of talking. And then it wasn't long. It was maybe like the second show I went, oh, that's a crucial component in this is fellowship and visitation. And so even my tour manager's here to get me, to tell me I need to go back on stage.
Walking in 5.
Right.
Okay, walking in 5.
Yes.
Okay. I'll go to the bathroom after the show. It's fine, guys. But it turns out, yes, it turns out that having people come into your room and bringing the vibe from outside in, they'll come in with their drinks, their eyes are different shapes, dude, that first set. And you do catch all this extra energy that a lot of the music gets its cues from. And so I do miss now. I would trade a little bit of wear and tear on my voice for that energy input from people coming backstage. And so there are ups and downs of it. I think in one way the music is really disciplined, but I wish we had some input from what's really going on out there. And it's tough to work in that vacuum.
Yeah. O'Teal told us that the other day. He said that being on stage with you guys is his refuge from the isolation.
That's the only time we get to hang. Yeah. It's up on stage. And so I think, maybe if we're being like, like super kind of mischievous in the topic, it probably helps that no one on stage is ever performing for a guest. You know, when guests show up, and I'm just as guilty as anyone is, when guests show up, sometimes people in the band can kind of like perform just for one person on the side of the stage that's come to visit. And there's no skin in that game whatsoever. So everyone's sort of just been playing towards each other, which is really cool. I know that sounds like a really subtle or, you know, a subtle observation, but I think that does. It's like there's no one to play for but your friends. You know, you're not taking the stage as a result of being amped up from all these people. You're going like, let's enter the music because that's the only time we get to go outside is to run around in these songs.
Right.
So,
well, you've all been doing a fantastic job. You know, the appreciation for the music, both on the part of the band and the audience, has never seemed greater, you know, because of what we've been through this past year and a half.
Good.
You know?
Yeah, for me too. For me too. And we just finished our first of 6 sets. I'm looking at that like set 1 of 6. And we're going to go do set 2 of 6. So we're taking it. I actually like this real slow work up to something. So I think second set's going to be really fun.
With all due respect, John, I wouldn't consider the set we just heard to be a slow work up to anything. That was a hit the ground set.
Again, physicality matching the mentality. And my mentality is like, let's be here. And the physicality is like, woo, woo. And when that locks, which could be at any moment, that'll be fun. We'll have liftoff. I'll have liftoff. Cool.
Well, you know, we can't express enough how much we've enjoyed this and how much we've enjoyed the entire tour and having these moments with you. Please come on Tales from the Golden Road for one of your famous tour debriefs afterwards.
I would love to. I don't think I did the last tours one, and I owe it to you, and I will do it. And thank you guys for your acceptance. Means the world to me. David, you have been. David sends me little critiques over text, like critiques, and I dig them. He spares no words. He'll come at me and he'll go, and I'll go, yeah, you're right. That's the wrong lyric. That's the wrong. So he's sort of like my coach. He's my gymnastics coach. But you guys have been so. And by the way, and you've been nothing but sweet. By the way, David, I'm just saying.
Thank you.
You guys have been. What's that?
It's meant to be constructive engagement, sir.
It's really fun. It's really, really fun. So you guys, your acceptance of me and the whole community's acceptance of me has changed my life. It really has changed my life.
You know, you earned that acceptance very early on, and you just keep confirming how much part of all of us you are.
Thank you. Well, it means it. Honestly, it doesn't happen, but I don't have the words for it. It just gives me an incredible feeling of embrace and acceptance and belonging. And again, I'm a solo guy. I'm a lone wolf. I do everything off in the corner. I do it fairly well. I invent everything in my head. And to have been embraced by this as a collective, as an ecosystem, has just changed my life and brought so much newness to every day of my life. And so thank you guys for that.
Nice.
And everyone watching to that too.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what it brings to your music, as I've seen happen. You know, when you go out on tour next year behind Sob Rock, it's going to have a little bit more of this in it.
It's percolating through. It's percolating through. Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Well, enjoy the second set.
All right.
We will.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to go play it, and thank you again.
All right.
For being with us, John.
Thank you.
All right, man.
Thanks,
What a guy.
Wow. That was fun.
Yeah.